Good morning. Welcome to another Fast Tracks webinar. Today we're going to be going over stamp usage in the warehouse. So first, in order to be able to use and track stamps, we'd go to Maintenance, into Settings, and we actually have a setting to enable stamp tracking. Just want to make sure that is enabled and save that setting if it was not already. The next thing we'd want to do is we'd want to set up a tax plan for our stamp. So we have went over stamps before in a previous webinar, and if you need a refresher on taxes, you can go to our website at goftx.com, go to FTx Lifeline, if we scroll down we have where you can view our webinars, and you can even filter this to just warehouse. And here's our Warehouse and Taxes 101 webinar. So since this is going to be, I'm going to do a cigarette stamp. So I already have my tax type of cigarette. I'm going to be doing a New York stamp. So I have New York as an existing tax group, and I already have my New York cigarette tax set up. As you can see, the tax plan is a stamp flat amount. So next we will go to Item Maintenance. And we have a Stamps tab, the far right. The first thing we will want to do is we want to create a stamp group. So as you can see, I do not have a New York group, so I'm going to create one. And I will save it. Okay, I am going to just refresh my module. I'm going to go back to Stamps. Now under Stamp Detail, I want to add an item. So I'm just going to name my item New York Stamp. Hit OK. Now I'm going to give it a name, and I will just name it the same thing. Alright, now I select what group it belongs to. In this case it's New York. And we'll select our tax plan for it. That will be our New York cigarette. As you can see, it pulls in the value of the stamp here. So I'll tell it to save this item. So that stamp is now saved. Alright, we have a box here that will show customers that receive that stamp, the items that it belongs or will get stamped to, and also we can create vendors for it. But first I want to go to Maintenance, and I need to make sure that my New York store is getting my New York tax. So go back to Item Maintenance, back over to Stamps. I select my New York stamp. As you can see, I now have my New York store listed under customers. It now shows that I have no stamps currently. Next thing we want to do is get items added in here for stamps. So what we'll do on this one is I'm going to go to mass updates. I'm going to filter it by my major category of cigarette. So I have these two different cigarettes. I'm going to go to the stamps tab, and I'm going to change this to my New York stamp and add stamp. So now if I refresh this module again, go back to stamps, select my New York stamp. Now you can see I have two items under stamped items. Since our tax is basically a stamp per pack, and we're dealing with cartons here, we use a multiplier. So we're just going to assume that both of these are just regular cigarettes, the 20s. So we'll have 10 to a carton. There's two different ways we can actually change our multiplier. One is we can just highlight the item here, tell it change multiplier. I'll put that there's going to be 10 packs. And now my multiplier is changed. The second way is through mass updates. Again, we'd filter to our cigarette category, back to the stamps. We will select our stamp, which will be the New York stamp. And I have the link right here to change multiplier. So again, I'm going to say that my multiplier is 10. Tell it OK. We need to refresh our module for that to take effect. So I'll go back to stamps, New York stamp. As you can see now, multiplier of 10 for both items. All right. As far as being able to purchase stamps, we would be like any other item. We can create a vendor part for it. You select which vendor it's coming from. Give it a part number. I'm just going to name it New York stamp. You can give it a cost. So now I have a vendor part for this item. To order stamps, to get them into the system, I just come down here to where it says purchase quantity. I'm going to put that I'm getting just one, which would give me 100 stamps. I'm going to tell it to purchase. It tells me the purchase order is created. So now if I go into inventory and go into my purchasing, I have a purchase order. It tells me that is a stamp order. So let me receive that. I'm going to view my purchase order. I'm going to tell it I'm going to receive it. I'm going to give it an invoice number. And I'm going to use the set receive quantity to order quantity, which I ordered 1. So it's going to set my receive quantity to 1. Shows that I have an item quantity of 100 because I have 100 stamps. I'm going to save and apply. So now when I go back to my stamps tab, and I select my New York stamp, It now shows that I have 100 stamps available. I do not have any pre-stamped, and I have a total of 100 stamps. So if I was to just go through and stamp some cartons before I actually have somebody purchase them, I could go in and do pre-stamps on them. So I can highlight my item, whichever one I wanted to use. We'll use item 1 here, and I'm going to adjust the stamped count. It tells me my item number is 1. It's my basic cigarette. I'm going to say that I have 10. So now you see it shows that I have 10 stamped. So now my available stamps is 0 because I have a total of 10 cartons pre-stamped. I still have a total of 100 stamps that are available. Whenever you do an order, it will pull from the stamped quantity on hand first on your pre-stamps. So let's just do an order. As you can see right now, we have pre-stamped of 100. I'm going to do a new order. Select my New York store. My item number 1. We're going to order 3. I'll pick and fill this order, and I will close it. Once the order is closed and invoiced, that is when the stamps are moved out of inventory. Now when we go back to item maintenance, stamps, New York stamp. Now as you can see, my pre-stamped is now 70. And my stamp quantity on item number 1 is now 7. So it deducted the 3 that we just took away when we closed that order. The same thing would happen if we was to do a return. If we was to return those 3, my stamp quantity would go back up to 10, and my pre-stamp quantity would go up to 100. And again, just as a kind of an overview, the customers go by what group they're in. So we have your tax types of cigarettes, so that's where the tax is being pulled from, and we have our tax groups. So in our example, we use the New York tax group. So my account that has the New York tax pulls just from the New York stamp. So not only do we have the stamp tab here where we can look and see how many stamps we have available and what we have pre-stamped, we can also go to item details, and if we look up our item number, so this basic cigarette, this is the one that we have pre-stamped. We also have a stamp information tab for this item. So this tells us that the multiplier is 10 on this item. We select which stamp we have, so we're going to select our New York stamp since it's the one we was working with. So it tells us multiplier is 10. We have a pre-stamped quantity of 7. It's actually using 70 stamps, and our New York stamp on hand is 70. That concludes usage of stamps in warehouse. Again, if you have any questions or if you need a refresher, this webinar will be posted on the website like all the other ones are. Thank you and have a good day.